Hi guys, and welcome to this episode of the Happy Knitting Podcast. My name is Julia and I'm coming to you from the UK. Today is Friday, the 31st of January 2025. I'm not sure if I'm the only one. I feel like we've had about, 100 days of January. It's just been never ending, but it's finally here, which is good. So let's talk about some knitting. I have only knitting to show you this week. And if you're a garment lover, I have to disappoint. The only garment I can talk about today is what I'm wearing, which is my Rebel cardigan, which you will have seen me knit on for quite a few episodes if you've been watching for a while. This is a pattern by Anke Strick, a German designer. I think she's from Berlin. And it is so lovely. I have been wearing this basically non-stop since I finished it. I've worn it to the office a couple of times. The fit is just so great, which is exactly what I was hoping for. So if you have been on the fence about the Rebel cardigan, I would recommend it. It is just so cozy. And yeah, I've been wearing it quite a bit. But I still haven't cast on a new garment, which is crazy. I've just been making all these accessories, and this week you will see loads of socks because, I don't know. I think it's been the stress knitting once again. If I'm stressed, I'm knitting socks. I've had a lot of meetings these past 2 weeks as well. So yeah, there's a lot of sock knitting. So should we start with my finished objects? They are socks. I finished these and honestly I think these are so fun. These are my self-striping socks out of German commercial yarn called Woolly Hugs. This is the Woolly Hugs paint socks in the colorway 203, I believe. And they're just so fun. I love them. As you can see, I've made them quite long. I have a different colorway in the same sort of series of yarn, and I'm already excited to knit that one as well. I picked these up in Germany over Christmas, and I went to a yarn store with my sister and literally dug through every skein and every colorway that they had of this yarn. And I'm so glad I did because I love these a lot. So these are just my plain vanilla socks, 64 stitches on a 2.25 US size 1 needle. I use the other end of the ball for the heels so the striping isn't interrupted. And yeah, aren't they just so fun? I love them. So yeah, that is my finished object for the week. And I have started a few things. Should we talk about the most exciting project first? Let's talk about my awesome Gossamer shawl, which doesn't rhyme to me. The shawl that is what's it called? Westnit's Glow Along Knit Along shawl that he just released. I mentioned it a couple of weeks ago and I did order yarn. The original, it asks for 16 balls of mohair, which makes it quite pricey. So I tried to find a mohair that I like, that is at the sort of more budget-friendly end of mohairs. And I will say right away, I don't like the Drops Kid Silk mohair. I know lots of people use that as a budget option, but I don't like it at all. I'm usually not sensitive with wools and mohairs, but I find that scratchy. So that one wasn't an option because that would have made it a lot more affordable. There are some other reasons why I choose not to use drops yarn that much. But anyway, so that was not an option. So what I went with in the end is this mohair. This is Mayflower mohair, which I ordered from Denmark. It's Mayflower, Kid Silk, Kid Mohair and Silk. So it's 76% mohair, 24% silk, and it's got the usual meterage. It's got 195 meters per 25 grams. So I ordered this from Denmark. And these are my colors. I got my colors very, very similar to one of the kits that I really liked. So I got 2 balls of each color, 8 colors per 8 colors, you get it. And I have started my shawl. Sorry for the slight interruption, but my camera will blow this out as it usually does. Believe me when I say that this is a little bit less muted than it looks on camera, but this is where we are. Look at this beautiful shawl. Isn't it just so good? I love it. It's so fluffy. You knit the entire shawl using 2 strands of different colors of mohair held together. And as you can see, it starts with the sort of garter stitch fade, and then you do little bubbles. And now I've moved on to the medium size bubble stitch. And oh, I love it so much. It always comes across a bit more sort of blown out and gray than it is. Believe me when I tell you this pink is proper pink, proper magenta. And this whole shawl is a bit more saturated than it seems to look on camera. But this is where we are, and it's just been so fun. I've really been enjoying it, although I will say now the rows are definitely getting quite long. So I'm in the medium bubble section now, and if you haven't seen the whole shawl, it is like a blanket. It is huge. So I'll have to see if I do the whole shawl or if at some point I do some maths and make it a bit smaller. I haven't decided yet. But all in all, it is also quite mindless. So once you sort of get into the rhythm of things, it is a lot of knitting and purling, and yeah, it is relatively easy to knit, which I enjoy. So this is definitely sort of TV knitting for me. I might need to get a longer cable for these needles. These needles, I don't think I've talked to you about them. This is my sort of latest obsession of interchangeable needles. These are Knit Bro Ginger. Is that what they're called? I think so. And you can buy these as sort of an interchangeable set. But I originally just bought one needle for, I think, the West Knits Mystery Knit Along last autumn, whenever that was. And I really enjoyed them. They sort of remind me of the Licker needles, which I do like, but they're a little bit slicker. So instead of buying a whole set, I just sort of over time grabbed my most used needle sizes, which are sort of between 3mm and maybe 5, and a couple of cables, and have started sort of collecting these as interchangeable needles, and I really, really like them. The join isn't as perfect as, say, the Chow Goose, but I have been enjoying them. So I think what I should do is get a longer cable and sort of work on my collection. And then this will be much easier to show you, plus I won't be so worried about dropping stitches. In terms of modifications, the only modification I've made is I've sized down my needles a bit. I'm using 3.5mm needles because, as I said, this shawl is going to be humongous, and I also tend to be a loose knitter, and I don't want to make it any bigger than it already is. And also, now I got fluff in my nose. Also, what was I going to say? I forgot. Fluff incident averted. Also, I definitely don't want to be running out of mohair. I don't think I will be, but I would be very annoyed if I either have to buy another ball of a couple of colors, or if I, have to... I'm happy to make it smaller if that's what I want to do, but I don't want to be forced to make the shawl smaller. But I think it works quite well on the smaller needles. It's got a really interesting feeling because the 2 strands of mohair together give it a little bit of heft. Like, it is not as fragile and super thin as you would like, but I think the fabric is actually really nice. So yeah, that is my awesome Gossamer shawl. And I still feel like I have mohair in my eyes now, so I'm gonna stop holding it up. And I shall report to you on this later. So that is my shawl knitting for the week. Apologies. I've also been doing some sock knitting. And I'm not sure if I mentioned this earlier, but as you know, I've been knitting socks for my son. And especially because he doesn't want to wear his winter boots. And then if he wears regular shoes to school, my mum was always worried he'll have cold feet. And he likes hand knitted socks now. So I have decided, because they need to have grey socks for school, I will make socks that are grey, except they're not. So he's getting like sort of secret colourful socks, and he's really excited by this idea. So I ordered a couple of grey skeins of Filcolana Aweta, because I did have some grey sock yarn in stash, but none that I liked. And I need yarn that I enjoy to make, grey socks for my son. So I got 3 different grays from Filcolana Aweta, which is my favorite sort of commercial sock yarn for sure. And this is colorway 234. It's just a gray. And my son picked the colors for the bottom. So I'm not sure if it's showing up. This is proper sort of fluoro neon yellow. And both of these minis came at some point from my Indie Yarn Club mini subscription. So they're just 20 grams each, and my son picked them. And actually, this is his school color as well, so that's also quite handy. So I made sure I started with the blue, so if something sort of pops out of his shoe, it won't be the neon yellow. But yeah, I finished this one last night, and it does fit. So I've started the second sock. This is the second sock. And you might remember I've had some fit issues with my son's socks. The most recent pair that I've knit him has been okay, so I think maybe I've found a perfect formula, because usually what I do is I do a short row heel, I do the shadow wrap heel, but just to see if these sort of fit better or maybe fit him longer, because sometimes I catch him having to sort of pull the heel over his actual heel a bit. So I decided to make him a heel flap and gusset for this one, and I tried these on him yesterday and they fit really well. And I wonder if this sort of construction will be a bit better with him growing as well, because I think it's easier to sort of stretch these out without the heel slipping anywhere with a heel flap and gusset. But that's just a suspicion I have. I can't prove this yet. So for the heel, I just used one of the Pearl Soho sock patterns. They have toddler socks that have a 52 stitch sock, which is what I'm doing for my son. So I just used their heel and that worked really well. And then after I've done the decreases for the gusset, I did 7 row stripes of each color. So yeah, one sock is done, one more to go. And I'm showing these to you today because I think I'll try to finish them today. And then they will go onto my son's feet next Monday for sure. There's no way I can keep them for him another week. So you probably won't see these again, but here they are. And if anyone's interested, these are a size sort of 28 to 29 EU, which I think is a UK 10 kid size. Yeah. So that is what I am doing, and I think they look very, very cute. So that is one sock project, and I just realized I forgot my husband's socks, so I'll go get them for a second. Hang on. Sorry, this is the episode with the many cuts. But I mentioned last week that I was knitting socks for my husband, and I only then realized that this yarn is non-superwash. And you know what? I decided to keep going with them because I sort of had made substantial progress already. And I asked my husband, and I think I was hoping that he'd be like, oh no, don't worry about it then. You can always make me socks out of different yarn. But he was quite keen to have these. And also he didn't want a hat or mittens really with this yarn. And so I was like, what else would I use this for? Because this is quite variegated yarn. So I've decided to keep going with the socks and see how it goes. This yarn is from Zakami Yarns. It doesn't have a colorway. I got it in a mystery box, and I presume it maybe sort of like a one of a kind or a colorway that didn't turn out like they wanted it to. I just know that it's 100% non-superwash fingering merino. And again, of course, I paired it with some Filcolana Aweta because that's what I always use, and I really love it for the cuff and the heel. And I took this as my sort of commuting knitting last week, and a good thing I did because there was train chaos and it ended up taking me about 2 hours to get to the office. It usually takes me at least 1 hour 15 anyway, it's a bit more usually. But still, I got a fair bit of knitting done on the foot. So I need to measure this and see how much more I even have to do. But I presume these are quite close to the toe now, which is good. So this is still the first sock, but at least I have made some progress and I have decided to keep going. I got some new sock yarn and I started a new sock. And I know I'm trying not to buy much yarn, but I came across, sometimes you come across something and you just fall in love. And the yarn that I originally fell in love with is this yarn, which is Katya Concept Symmetric Socks and More Rainbow. So I saw this on Instagram, and what it is I'm really into these sort of commercial sock yarns at the moment that do interesting self-patterning things, like sort of similar to these. This is a commercial sock yarn that has a really cool self-patterning striping effect. So I saw these and I fell in love. And of course you can get it everywhere in Germany. It was a bit more difficult to find it here in the UK, but I did find it, and I found a couple of balls of this yarn on sale. So of course I had to buy them. So this is Katya yarns, and these are 80 gram sock yarns, which I think is quite handy because even if I knit really long socks, say these ones, they're really long and I have big feet and I still only use 75 grams. So the idea of only getting 80 grams of sock yarn actually appeals to me because I will have less leftovers. And I got these on sale from a UK yarn shop, I think for $6.50, which I thought was really good. So I bought some yarn. Long story short, I bought some yarn. They only had a couple of colorways, so that's the colorways I got. They had these two for the striping ones, which I think both of them are really, really fun. And then they also had something that I liked even more, I think, which is Katya Concept Blossom. It doesn't say it on here, does it? Oh yeah, here. Symmetric Socks and More Blossom. And these ones, they have sort of speckles throughout the sock, but then a rainbow or sort of a color progression at the top, which again, I think is really, really cool. So again, they had two colorways, so I bought them on sale. So this is one of them. And then the other one is like your typical rainbow one. So this is what the ball looks like. This is, I think it's colorway 65. I can't find the tag, but I have it somewhere. Oh, here it is. Yes, color 65. And this one has a proper rainbow at the top. So look at that. I will say that the sort of rainbow striping at the top is much longer than the label indicates. So I wonder if I would like it more if it didn't have as much, because I have ended up with a very, very long cuff, and most of the projects that I looked at on the internet, they sort of did a bit of the cuff and then the rest of the stripes in stockinette, but I didn't like that, so I made a long cuff. So these might once again be quite long socks, but aren't they just so fun? So yeah, I of course had to cast that on immediately, and yeah, I need to decide when to put in the heel. Usually I would put it in here, but because the cuff is so long, I'm not sure if that'll look funny, and maybe I need to make them longer again. I wasn't really planning on yet another pair of really long socks, but I think this is where we might be going. So yeah, another pair of socks that I've cast on. So that is it. That is basically most of what I've been knitting on this week. I've done a little bit on my scarf. I still really want to cast on a garment, but I just feel like I have so many things going, and I also sort of want to progress on my Westnitz Glow Along shawl. So we'll see what happens. But I think the first priority is to get my son's socks done, which really, if I tried, I could do that today. And yeah, just sort of work on my whips for a bit. So yeah, that is what I've been doing for the last week or so since I last talked to you. Besides the whole yarny stuff, I will be honest, it has been so stressful. It's been so busy. I hate January. It's a really busy work sort of time for me. Because I work at a university, so at the beginning of every term my colleagues just all go crazy and it's a lot of work. But I'm hoping it'll calm down at some point. And yeah, it's just a lot of noise in the background. We're having some stuff done in our house. We're excitingly going to replace our carpet upstairs with laminate, which I'm really excited about. Both because I think it'll look really nice, because the carpet that came with the house isn't very nice, and also because I have bad allergies, and I'm hoping once we get that exchanged in 4 weeks, hopefully I'll have less suffering as well, because it's been a bit of a nightmare. So we've been picking colors and doing all of that. We've had some, just like random issues with the water meters and stuff like that. So it's all fine. It's just a lot of stuff going on in the background. Filing taxes. It's just a million things. But I'm hoping things will calm down. No one will get sick for a while now that I've jinxed that. Who knows? But yeah, all the knitting plans in my head, I just need to find the time to actually do them rather than just knit socks through meetings. But we'll see what happens. I will keep you updated. So thank you so much for watching. I really hope that you'd enjoyed this episode today. Do let me know what you're working on. I always love hearing about that. Or if you have knitting plans that you're planning to make, do let me know. And I hope that wherever you are, you're safe, you're healthy, and you have some yarn to play with. Thank you so much for watching, and I shall talk to you again next week. Bye.